here's Brody Brazil.
You know, within the last couple months of potential A's relocation, there's only been two cities actually in the conversation. Obviously, Las Vegas as where they could go, and Oakland, where they're currently at and have been now for more than 50 years. But obviously, Reno has emerged, so has Sacramento, as temporary places that the A's might need to play for 3 or more seasons if they really are going to relocate to Southern Nevada. But what if I told you there was a dun 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 secret in Salt Lake City? I should have done an actual sound effect for that. And it's not a secret. A lot of you have been mentioning this to me in comments here on the channel. I've seen it. I feel like it's time to address something that honestly nobody is really talking about. Maybe it's a potential temporary landing spot for the A's, but maybe not. Hold your horses, so to speak, because a couple dominoes really need to fall for this to happen. First off, let's take a look at the A's potential timeline. I mean, this would be if Las Vegas does get approved in the near future by the end of this 2023 calendar year. For sure, they're playing in Oakland in 2024. The seasons in question are 25, 26, 27, and 28 is a best-case scenario for the A's to land in Las Vegas. You understand, they've got to build a ballpark. They've also got to figure out the rest of that Tropicana property and hotel site. And does one thing go in line with the other? Can you start playing games even if a new hotel is not built out? Like, there's a lot of construction to take place on that site, not just a baseball stadium. But I mean, even already 3 years? You know, when I hear temporary, that's 3 weeks, maybe 3 months of a baseball season, which is basically half of 162 games. 3 full seasons? You understand that there could be a player who signs with the A's in 25, never plays in Oakland, never plays in Las Vegas. They ultimately end up in this temporary spot wherever that could be. I should also mention, before we get too deep into Salt Lake City, you know, Summerlin has been mentioned, where Las Vegas Ballpark is. There's a lot of complications. Heat, outdoors, playing surface, and also Oakland, which is a different conversation. There'll be a different video on that. Is the Coliseum even a potential for the A's for those middle years to stay? Would Oakland want them? Would that even be allowed by Oakland and the Joint Powers Authority as an opportunity? Let me enter into the conversation here. Smith's Ballpark. What a view, by the way. And I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Are those the Wasatch Mountains? The Wasatch Range? Is that what that is out there? That is beautiful. This ballpark was built in 1994, seats 14,500, sits at an elevation of, pretty high, 4,230 feet. And guess what? It's planned to be empty, not used in the near future. Interesting. There's a lot of facilities tied up around the West Coast, a lot of places that don't make sense or sharing something, and this doesn't work. Nothing is optimal when you really look at all the options, but if this really is going to be empty, it may or may not be, then that is something nobody has really talked about in detail, but that's what we're going to do here in the video. The problem is this: the Salt Lake City Bees, they occupy Smith's Stadium right now. And back in January, they said they'll leave Smith's and move to a community called Daybreak, which I'll show you is totally on the other side of the town, by 2025. However, I couldn't find many updates on this. I can't find any renderings on this. I can't find any construction or design updates. This was from June, so now 2 months ago, from KSL TV. They're the NBC affiliate in Salt Lake City. An article from them said, quote, the company, this is the company behind the Salt Lake City Bees, the company has yet to release stadium renderings because of the factors going into the design process, but those are expected to be released by the end of summer. Mid-August. The exact cost of the new stadium is also expected to be released by then. And they're still targeting April of 2025. We're like a year and a half from that happening. A little more than a year and a half, I guess. To do everything? That seems so. This might cut off the conversation right there, or this might at least delay it so that 2025 is not an option. But 26 might be an option. Maybe now the A's would try and stay in Oakland for 24 and 25. But would Oakland let them stay for 25? That's a totally separate conversation, the Oakland half of it. We're here, obviously, to talk about the Salt Lake City potential. Smith's Ballpark is there up in the north. Daybreak is down in the south. It's a 20-mile drive with no traffic, about 30 minutes. Google tells me. And yeah, on the complete other side of town, very much in the suburbs, is where the Salt Lake City Bees want to move. And it's crazy, right? Like, they just got a brand new minor league ballpark in the 90s, and they already get a brand new stadium. And oh yeah, by the way, I believe it's the owners of the Bees and some other groups. They're also interested in bringing Major League Baseball to Salt Lake City. They want to put a new stadium in the Power District, which, as you can see there, has a nice view also of the mountain range and downtown and those 3 smokestacks, or whatever those are. Looks pretty cool. So this is also in the mix at the same time. But going back to Smith's Ballpark, it looks very minor league, and I'm sure it served a great purpose. It's kind of crazy that they're moving away from this. Like, there's a whole ballpark district. And I believe the owners who are moving it are even funding the area to try and do something different or new with this space. They don't want to make this a wasted space. Well, guess what? What if the A's wanted to extend its life for a couple years? I would have to think they'd be interested in that. And it's like a beautiful canvas. Again, it's very minor league. It's got a ceiling to it of 14,000. Probably needs some work in some certain ways. But that exists. And at some point, I think, what if the Bees don't move? What if it takes even a couple years beyond that? Or what if their other stadium project stalls? Like, the A's can't rely on this if it's not an actual opportunity. Here would be some of the pros, I think, which maybe I've spelled out some of this, but the Salt Lake City option, the secret, if you will, the secret. I didn't like that one. It's an empty stadium. Anywhere else you go, you're talking about sharing a minor league stadium, which this is, but you're sharing it with an actual minor league operating team. In this case, if the Bees were out, you'd get it all to yourself. And I think you could upgrade it, add some more seats, add some more amenities, just make it nicer, especially if you're going to be in it for 3 full years. But I don't think the Bees' new home will be ready in a year and a half. That's crazy. There's not even a design yet. But you could upgrade it. There's also no desert heat, which, let's be honest, there is altitude, like in Reno, but there's no heat, like in Las Vegas. And that is a complicating factor, believe it or not. The amount of day games you need to play, getaway days, in the middle of summer in Las Vegas. They just went through a whole month of like 110 plus temperatures. This is also an MLB tryout for the city of Salt Lake. They get this opportunity to showcase, see how attendance goes, see how the market could support it. It would work well for them in terms of a showing, but also in revenue. You've got a major league team that operates there and also visiting teams coming in. So, it's a potential boost to Salt Lake City for a couple years. Oh yeah, by the way, it's also a boost that the state of Nevada thinks they're in line for. That was asked during the legislative session. Like, they said, we're going to get the A's, right, for those couple years so that we in our state benefit instantly off that, right? So this would kind of go against maybe a promise that the A's made. Geography, obviously staying out west. If you're the A's, you can't consider moving like east of the Rockies temporarily. That doesn't make much sense for travel and the schedule, and you're not as much in the AL West. You also get to build your fan base. Like Salt Lake City for a major league team is untapped. Obviously, the Bees are the affiliate of the Angels, right? Am I still right on that? A couple years. It's been a couple years since I double checked. But you could kind of gain this weird connection with Salt Lake City and have some A's fans there. You build your fan base. That would be a pro for the A's as it relates to Salt Lake City. Here are the cons. First off, it's a double move. You're going from Oakland to Salt Lake City down to Las Vegas. Costs money. It's not easy. Upgrade costs, you're just throwing money into if you put $100 million into that stadium, are you really ever going to get it back? They probably won't do that. I said it's possible. I don't know that they'll do it. It's limited size. Like, you can't expand out too much. You can only do so much. It also only seats 14,000. Look, if there was a 30,000 seat stadium in Salt Lake City and a team was going to spend a couple years there, they might get 30,000 every game. You also wonder if it's going to be like a temporary crowd, if by year 3 and the novelty is worn off and people know that they're leaving, who cares, right? It's not a city that had them or is going to keep them. And here's maybe the most important part. A's versus B's. Like the letter, see what I did there? But also, nobody wants to kill the bees. Look it up. That's true, by the way. In our global ecology, like in our, how am I saying this? Bees are important to the life cycle. You don't want to kill bees in real life. You also don't want to kill the Salt Lake City Bees as a baseball franchise. Would the A's existence cut down on how many people go to Bees games for a couple years in their respective brand new stadium? I don't know, but I don't even know if you want to introduce that competition for a temporary thing like the A's. So I don't think this is a secret necessarily, but it's definitely something that's not being discussed. I just wanted to bring it into the conversation, make you aware of this. If you think this isn't on the A's radar, maybe there's a reason it's not being discussed. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why it's kind of a secret right now. Sacramento's been mentioned. Reno's been mentioned. Summerlin's been mentioned. I don't even know. Has staying at the Coliseum even been mentioned? People have talked about sharing Oracle Park with the Giants to some degree. But I feel like the outlier right now is Salt Lake City. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that dedication. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help this one out. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.